Before we begin this video, I would like to take this opportunity to apologize. I have lied to my community. I promised that my Pickem would be perfect. After the group stage, it is no longer perfect. And for that, I'm very sorry. We're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. As a token of my gratitude for accepting my apology, I will now give you the perfect Pickem for the playoffs. Let's jump into it. Before we do that, let's evaluate where we landed. Let's view our picks for Swiss. We got a grand total of 85 points. We landed on the G2 one, HLE on 3-1, GENG 3-0. We got hit on the forehead, and the main big miss here is BOG in trade for, of course, CFO. All things considered, I think it's pretty damn solid. I don't decide the Swiss draws. I think this was a good effort from my part. BOG collapsing and falling apart. Obviously, with the draw BLG versus Top Esports, I would have had one wrong either way. AL got in there, T1 got in there, KT, and then, of course, G2 was my main wildcard. And at least on that front, you know, we did make the call that G2 is going to be better than FlyQuest at this competition, and we got the most significant proof. A damn match that went all the way and G2 beating them. So that's something that aged very well. That feels very good. I was very early with the G2 take, so I get to flaunt it. I get to do a little jiggle, you know? This is my celebratory dance. Roll my shoulders a little bit. So all the analysts out there that thought FlyQuest would be better, G2 got me. Switching browsers has never been easier. It's time to upgrade your life with Opera GX. Jump into the settings, scroll down, easy peasy, boom. There, of course, you have it, import bookmarks and settings, and you can instantly be back up to speed. You can keep your browsing history, your cookies, your bookmarks, your favorites, your passwords, anything that you want, you can import with ease, and then boom, easily you're back up to speed and you can enjoy all the features that Opera GX has to offer. One of them that is super cool is of course, the Opera GX modification system. Let's just pull it up. You can modify the sound, you can modify the look. Here we have a Spirit Blossom one. Let's just take it for a spin. I'm installing this real time. Boom, one button press, and suddenly everything changes. Let's have a look at what it is. Oh, I like that tranquil sound, a little drum. You can, of course, modify the keyboard sounds. You can modify, you know, how it looks, the colors, and you can make it your own. This is your, you know, your browser is like your own home in a way. You need to be able to modify everything and anything. And obviously, you can download any Chromium-based extension. Still, uBlock Origin is something that is supported on Opera GX, which is super cool in my opinion. You could just get uBlock Origin, combine it with, of course, the built-in privacy protection, and additionally, of course, the built-in ad block, and you can combo it to protect yourself and protect your, of course, attention. Obviously, blocking this ad didn't work because it's built into the video, but hopefully, you know, you don't skip past me. An additional cool feature that comes with, of course, the RAM limiter. You have the network limiter. Sometimes I like to download things when my fiance is in solo queue, and then, you know, I don't need to get shouted at from the other room, and I could just limit it, which is very, very nice. CPU limited too. Sometimes, you know, your browser is working in overdrive, and managing that is super nice. And obviously, during the World Championship, if you download one of the mods, or you just download using the link in the description, then of course, it comes pre-packed with the World's 2025 corner, where you have the schedule without any, of course, spoilers according to your time zone, which is super, super neat. You have some additional content here that you can watch on YouTube or within the browser, and you can scroll down and also find your favorite co-streamer. Look at that, man. Oh my days. Look how many tags I have as well. LOL, First Stand 2025, Co-Stream, English, Everside 2025. I have more tags than everybody else, which obviously means that I am a lot better. So, change to Opera GX now. Why wouldn't you? Download it with one button press. Thank you. Anyhow, let's take a look at the knockouts. Quarterfinal matchups. We have very interesting ones. I do think that we have the 4 best teams facing off against each other against the 4 worst teams facing off against each other. So let's make it matchup for matchup. AL versus T1. You know, it's the age-old question. It's like, will T1 lock in and do better? The main danger for me here with T1 is the fact that, like, nobody's performing. Nobody's performing, and I don't know if there's going to be any draft, adjustments that is going to save them. When I say nobody's performing, well, the only person performing is Faker. Faker has dragged them over the finish line in both the series against IG, especially in the series against MCoy. It's like Faker is basically reliving his 2017 experience, which ironically enough was the 3rd Worlds in a year. After winning 15 and 16, they walked into 17. Also, Ruler on the other side of the bracket, they faced off in the finals. Faker dragged them over the finish line, beating the favorite Chinese teams at the tournament, in RNG, of course, and being close to losing to Misfits in that same tournament. And then T1, SKT at the time, got 3-0'd in the finals in the famous Varus R Flash onto, of course, Faker's Karma, who had to buy Ardent Sensor for a very underperforming Bang. Is history repeating itself? Maybe. In regards to T1's biggest issues, I think just individually, in terms of what laning is and in terms of their fight selection, they just don't seem to be that well right now. I think Doran is taking engages that don't make any sense. Gumayushi is overstepping many times, and he doesn't have like that crispy safeness to him. In terms of the playmaking from Keria, I think this is probably the worst World Championship performance I've ever seen from Keria. I think Keria even did better in the DRX run. And obviously things can change fast, because I do think that T1 is very fortunate with the fact that their match is the last one that is going to be played, which of course is super neat, super nice, super cool. I think that of course goes a very, very long way in my opinion. The fact that T1 gets more time to rest, and of course AL have an abundant amount of time to rest. So you guys have heard the stories and the tales of teams that of course make the 3-0 in a Swiss format. AL and KT making 3-0 here. What are the dangers that they are going to be facing now after having literally like 12, and in some cases it's going to be, I don't know how long with AL, because they played the last one. Like they have so much time off. For those who don't know, last year's 3-0 teams, we had of course GENG, who almost lost to FlyQuest, which was horrible. We had of course LNG, who lost to Weibo Gaming. And then the year before that, we had JDG, who almost lost to a KT that they were supposed to be a lot better than. Those games were very, very messy. And then we had GENG on the other side, losing to Bilibili with, of course, Yagao. And that's the history of the Swiss format. Another detail that we can highlight when longer breaks could be, a pain point. We had a similar experience with GENG when they got to wait after the regular season wrap-up. Not playing the first round, you had teams KT and T1 and so forth. They played the first round to then qualify to the next stage in the upper part of the bracket in the LCK in the summer finals. And GENG did lose against KT after being inactive for a longer period of time. So this is something that could be very, very dangerous. I think AL right now, in terms of their level of play, in terms of their level of execution, they do look better than T1 on paper. The main thing that is concerning for me is a lot of people are hyping up Shanks' performance. I am not on the same page as them. I think Tarzan is fantastic. I think Flandre in the current meta works super, super well. I think that Kael has been looking better and better in terms of his playmaking, which of course is a big plus. His Poppy game stood out. I have high hopes for his Bard too. That's something that they can leverage as a takeaway. I think In terms of what Faker's offered, I think he looks pretty damn decent. But the concern for me with T1 is that they just give up so many leads in so many games. And I do think that this year, it just seems so different from the past ones. And while there's a big part of me, I think, that fears, the idea of falling for it again, I do think that the deck is so stacked against T1 here that, it's hard not to go with AL. The conflict in your mind is always, it's like, if you allow your imagination to go to a place where AL defeat T1 in a quarterfinals, it's just so hard to imagine it based on the pedigree of history. And the truth is, it seems like teams, when they are under that pressure, the nameplate power of T1 carries so much damn weight. And I do think, although in any other case it would be irrational, I do think that T1 is going to make it. I think that the time that they gained here is just too important. It's too big of a deal, I think. Way too big of a deal, and I think that T1 is going to make it happen. Next matchup. G2 versus Top Esports. Looking at the path here for, both of these teams, it's been, gentle in a sense. I think that, Top Esports, they had some tough opponents like GENG. They got completely smoked by G2 coming in as, of course, a 3-1 team. They did qualify. They did beat Bilibili, but we are putting, a little bit less value on that victory now in this current moment in time because of the state of Bilibili. The main thing for me, right, in terms of G2 beating FlyQuest, what stood out there was the fact that they leaned into comfort and they had better cohesion in teamfights. I didn't think that G2 out-macroed Fly. I think FlyQuest out-macroed G2. I think they out-macroed CFO too. It was just their teamfight execution on a mechanical level that was extremely lackluster. Too many times Whippo got caught, too many times Quad got caught, too many times Masu got caught. It was simply the mechanical execution and the crispiness was clearly not there. And that's why I raised as a concern for FlyQuest the fact that the bootcamp heading into Worlds was too short. If this was a 6-week bootcamp, I feel like things might have looked different for Fly, because if all of these players got a chance to maybe get 1.5 KLP on the Korean ladder, or like 1 KLP, and they are breaching Challenger, I think that they would be so much more sharp in these fighting occasions. And I bring this all up because I don't think that G2 is sharp enough on a mechanical level to compete with a Top Esports that is not completely collapsing in on itself. And Top Esports collapsing in on itself is something that has occurred. It happened against G2 specifically too, although the Top Esports makeup of the team is a little bit different. I do think that, Cream has looked good at this tournament, in my opinion. I do think that, 369, Kanavi also have looked pretty damn good. I think the bot lane, I think Hung, especially with those Nico games, very ugly. Top Esports is definitely the best draw that G2 could hope for. My main concern is that G2, in terms of the firepower they bring to the table, I think that this, even though they made quarterfinals, I do feel like this is one of the weakest World Championships in a while for Caps. In the past, he would be the one to carry games on his own, especially in 23. I remember those Oriana games, or it's just Tana games during MSI. It's like Caps has just, his experience really shined through. But I think his current individual level reminds me of the 2022 Caps. And in a world where I came into this series and I would say Caps is going to perform better than Cream, I do think that I would lean towards G2. But I can't currently say that. And as a big G2 fan and a big G2, endorser leading up to this World Championship, I do think that the story ends here. G2 have a plus in the fact that Skymond as a player might not be as good of a player as Kanavi, but in terms of being a jungler, so it's like understanding how to path, understanding how to protect yourself against invades. I do think that this is something that Skymond does very damn well. It's usually the case with junglers that are very, very high LP, like a Skymond, held rank 1 in Europe for such a long time. So he knows all the tricks and, that just other junglers going to be playing on you. So I do think that's a plus. But with Caps' current level, I have to go with top esports for this one, guys. I think that the thesis for G2 winning is, of course, top esports collapsing. We have a Jackie Love choke performance. Hang continues playing as bad as he does. But I think the main catalyst for a G2 victory would be if Caps finds really, really, really insane level and form again. Because I think that would be the way in. But for now, I will take top esports. On the bottom side of the bracket, GENG vs Hanwha Life, we had that as a LCK finals. We did make references to, of course, 2017 as a World Championship. GENG didn't make it through the 3-0, so they were quite busy. They lost a game against AL, of course. It was a BO1. And the last time they played against HLE specifically. HLE didn't have too much to offer. And I think, GENG is such a lock for a world champion, like them being the winner, is the main concern for GENG is like, what is Canyon's form and what is GENG's meta read? I feel like GENG's meta read is quite lazy in the sense that I think that teams can get away with having like draft advantages against them. And then the question is like, does it matter? And in a lot of cases, it doesn't. Like Chovy is looking insane. Keen was my best player coming into the World Championship, and he remains, fantastic still. I think additionally, Ruler and Duro look really, really good, and Canyon has ramped up. Canyon looked really, really good against top esports, and I feel like he has been playing better and better as this tournament has progressed. And in my mind, I think that makes GENG unbeatable. Best of fives is their biggest comfort zone. They have reverse swept Hanwha Life. They've beaten them 3-1. And I think that in the head-to-head matchup here, with the inconsistencies of Peanut and Delight in terms of teamfight execution and, finding opportunities in the game, those inconsistencies alone, I do feel like GENG is going to just take those and run the whole game with it. I think that Zeus as a player is indeed super fantastic, but I do think that his weaknesses are very important in the current meta, meaning top laners that are flexible, they are capable of interacting and capable of understanding which waves to sack and when to base and to find opportunities to interact, like the 369 archetype, or let's say the Philander archetype. I do think that top laners that are a lot more flexible and aren't focused as much on the individual lane are much happier in the current meta with all the lane swaps that are happening. Not to say that Zeus isn't capable of playing this playstyle because his Ornn is very, very good. It's just that I do think that Keen is slightly better. And Viper won a miracle game with even Caitlyn Alistar, which is crazy. But the fact that they landed on Caitlyn Alistar highlights the fact that Delight is incapable of playing range supports. When Delight is on melees, he can look decent, even though he's been very wonky at this World Championship. But he is refusing to play ranged champions, which I think is very, very limiting for Hanwha Life. I think that if GENG lose here, this would be a massive upset in my opinion. And I think that GENG just look better now than they did during the summer playoffs that they, of course, won either way. I could just click it in already. I don't think that I need to rationalize anything else. KT versus CFO. This one is very interesting. Because I do think that CFO, in terms of their fight setup, has been quite disappointing. I think that what they showed in the LCP was that they could do a better fight setup than everybody else. But it just seems like the majority of the LCP teams are just fighting very recklessly. If we look at how Team Secret Wales are playing, we take a look at how Gamo's playing in ASI, or even PSG, you can see that CFO, they have better setup than these teams, but I think it also showcases itself as a massive flaw here at the competition. And CFO as a team, I think that mechanically they are super good. And I think that's the edge they have over KT. The fact that Dogo is looking incredible. I think Junjia looks really good mechanically as well. He has, you know, that marvelous Kiana game that he played. Honkyu mechanically also super damn insane. It does feel like CFO is, you know, the team that comes across as the team that people would describe as inexperienced. I did mention this in my, you know, player breakdown in regards to Honkyu. As a player, mechanically, one of the best, you know, top 5 mechanically for sure in the world mid lane wise. But he does die to super roams. He does die to jungle ganks. And I think in terms of how he approaches team fights, sometimes he can be in awkward positions. So here we have a situation where you have, you know, the veteranship and the fight selection of KT against CFO. My main concern for KT is that I think draft-wise, they run out of steam. I think while Perfect has had a good tournament so far, I do think that Perfect as a player just thrives in BO1s and in series that don't go far. If Perfect gets to play Rumble and Renekton, he's very happy. But beyond that, I think that Perfect can become a liability, and this is where CFO can, of course, deploy the strategy of using both Rest and Driver. BDD is an absolute beast. I like BDD a lot, and he can definitely drive and win a series on his lonesome. I think that Diokdam is on and off. Peter is on and off. The weird thing about KT is that there's been moments this year where this lineup comes together and has, you know, a very, very good performance. I think their strength lies in playing heavy engaged compositions that scale into Drake 3 and 4. And I think that BDD's flexibility together with Kuz to always create good mid-jungle pairings is what is going to be so impactful in this one. But I do think that CFO has revealed their hand a lot in terms of what they are effective on, champion pool-wise. And I do think that the dynamic of the preparation is going to be such an important one. This, to me, will be the closest matchup, in my opinion, KT versus CFO. And I do think I'm going to trust my gut here and go with BDD. The main concern for KT, of course, is that while CFO went through wars, they went to 3-2 and they got to play a lot of games, they have less of a break. That could be a big difference maker here. A really, really big difference maker. And I do think the signal will be shown already in game 1. It's like, how rusty will KT be? And additionally, you know, the side of KT, even though I said that my gut is telling me KT, let me just think out loud before I lock it in. You know, KT as well in their victories, they almost lost to MKOI. They had an easy second draw, and then Top Esports obviously didn't play so well in that series. I wonder if CFO are just capable of creating a big enough lead in the first 10 minutes that none of their disadvantages will matter. I think that's not entirely crazy. I think I'm gonna go with the break is going to be too impactful to KT. I think CFO is just... the momentum of CFO is going to win out here. And I think if KT was the one that came through on 3-2, maybe I would feel the same in regards to KT. So I'm going to go with CFO. I believe in DOGGO, Junjia, and Honkyu, and the flexibility of their top laners to defeat KT in a BO5. T1 versus Top Esports. I think T1 is going to win that out. And then GENG crowned as the champion. There it is, guys. Jump in the ship. The first Pickem was a warm-up. This one is the perfect one. Don't fuck around. Lock it in. Click it in. Join me and fly. Before we move on from the video, let's take a look at what's going on with the Crystal Pickem. I know that in the video, guys, I feel a little bit bad because I did indeed in the video choose Nico as the most banned. And while it wasn't horrible, I did switch to Orianna. I did it in the middle of game 1, where the picks were still opened. They were still opened, and I switched it because I believe the T1 banned it against IG, who were first pick in the opening game, as a response to IG's Azir ban. So there it is. Looking at my choices, there's a lot of these that aren't relevant yet, right? So we don't need to think about them too much. How many unique champions will be picked? 0 to 99. Maybe this was something that was a little bit too optimistic. Let's refresh this. Which champion will be picked the most? Xin Zhao is up there, and I think it's going to continue. I doubt in any of the 7 series that are going to be played that, Xin Zhao just won't be picked. I think there's a chance he's going to be picked in every series, and there's no catching up to Xin Zhao. Which champion will be banned the most? The Azir Yay-sayers were up there. I really thought that Azir, in terms of his nerf, would hurt his early game too much. But it seems that I'm just proven wrong. We have so many good Azir players at this World Championship that people are just continuing in playing it. Surprisingly, you have some teams also inviting Azir and playing the Talia side, like a Chovy. Honkyu is an amazing Azir. We had, of course, even Cream got into Azir. Faker's Azir was amazing. You have even Zeka's Azir that was really damn good. So the Azir ban is still there. But the hopium is that, the teams open Azir in the opening game, trade it for Talia, and then you take a prior jungler, and then Orianna just bans. That's the hopium. That's my hopium. Which champion will have the most kills? Koki is just playing that many games, and he's being picked often. The Koki nerf was fake, so he's just up there. Kaiser is being picked less so. It doesn't seem like the Nico players are doing that good on Nico, really. It's like a lot of the Nico players are just not performing, and it seems like teams are just pivoting away and just keeping it simple by picking a melee support. Which champion will have the highest win rate? Minimum 5 games. Sion's numbers is so impressive here because he has a lot of games, while these champions in particular only have, the 6 games played with the 87.5. Oh wait, this is 85 and 0.7. I don't even know what kind of a fraction that is. Which champion will have the lowest win rate? Pantheon I never expected. And then we scroll down, which player will have the highest KDA? BDD, of course, only played, 4 maps. So that's why he's up there. T1 had to go through wars and also had to play against IG. So you have Faker and Guma Yusuf with a very high pick pool here. And then which player will have the most kills in a single game? We have Bin, we have Dogo, we have Mortius. I'm still hoping for, of course, the Viper lock-in. Which team will have the most Baron steals? We have anyone's legend. And which team will have the most kills? T1. It's just a question of volume. I was thinking about making a separate video on it, but I guess I could just bring it up now. I did think that I think Riot needs to change the Worlds format. I think let's say the hype around the draws and the potential upsets, I feel like teams and not teams, sorry, but play like the viewership is seeing through it, to the point where it seems very artificial, the hype seems very artificial. So I think the Swiss stage needs to be revamped. I think that now when there's no play-ins, I think that you figure out a way to make it best of 3 focus a little bit more. I think maybe you make a true honest seeding around the value of your wins. I think what 100 Thieves went through, what PSG went through, I think this is kind of bullshit, It's like, I do think that if you beat a Bilibili in the first round, you should be then a higher seed playing against a lower end seed, and then it should be like the value of your victories should be translating to something, real and useful, in my opinion. So it's like you start with a true seeding from 1 to 16, and you leverage, even your own data where you are, of course, determining it through the Amazon thing, determining who is the better or good team, I don't see why you just wouldn't, send it, like just give everyone a true rating, because obviously seed number 1 from China is not the same as seed number 1 from America or Europe for that matter, or the same thing obviously for Korea. I do think it would just make for a better tournament, and it wouldn't be like this random bullshit, because at least on my end, I really care about the legacy of esports and the legacy of League in terms of what the tournament represents. And I am unhappy when the narratives are spun wrong about teams based on their, of course, result. Because some 2-3s are not the same as some other 3-2s to other 3-2s, or the 3-0s to 3-0s. For example, Anyone's Legend, now they are 3-0 against KT's 3-0. But obviously, Anyone's Legends 3-0 is far more impressive than the one that KT did, because Anyone's Legend took the win off of GENG, right? While KT had some of the easiest matchups to make it all the way. And I hope that protect the sanctity by removing BO1s, adding best of 3s, or if the least, that we get a double elimination in the knockouts. But maybe it's wishful thinking, because I understand from Riot's side, they do want the upsets. They want all the reactions to the draws and all the videos and the clips and the discussion around it, because it's amazing marketing. I looked at the videos that did very well on YouTube during the World's Times. It is always like the draw reactions. People make compilations, the draw reactions, like all of them just get so much hype and so much interaction. And maybe that's just the world we live in, where things need to be built to create spectacles rather than being competitively viable. But it does seem like a community sentiment is slowly shifting into the idea that Worlds feels very Mickey Mouse. Maybe I'm alone in that, but I do feel like the sentiment is heading in that direction. Nevertheless, I think that's the end of the video. I'll catch you guys, of course, on the co-streams as per usual. I'm excited to catch all the games. We have quarterfinals into semifinals, no breaks, full on rock and roll. I'll catch you guys then. And thank you, of course, to Opera GX for powering this video. Peace.